since you ask and you get to. Is OnlyFans the answer to student loans and money problems? Sisters, I'm so excited for us to chat about this conversation. And hello out there. Welcome to another episode of What's That?
Sister Chat.
All right, sisters. All right. I sent you guys this article. I actually saw it a little bit earlier this week and I saw it and I saved it because I was like, unless something juicier is happening in the world, we are talking about OnlyFans today. So, just so that you kind of have an idea what I'm talking about here. So there was an article on BuzzFeed that was really interesting about these nursing students who were turning to OnlyFans to get by. And a lot of interesting things came up. I don't even know if we'll have enough time to talk about it, but I think we should dig in, sisters. You ready?
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right. So I want to start with the big thing that really stood out to me in this article, and this was this idea about student loans, right? So everybody knows we've got this student loan sort of crisis. They say that there's a bubble, it's bound to burst. People have extraordinary amounts of student loans in this world. Let me raise my hand and say that I am one of them. So look, I get it, right? Okay, like this, okay, so we're all there. We all have this shared issue. And the article talks about women who are in school and wanting to avoid the student loan crisis for themselves. They're sort of looking out and going, I see all of these other nurses, all of these other women, all of these other humans who are struggling, and I don't want to do that. So they are turning to sex work on the side using OnlyFans, right? And so this is a little bit different because I think that we've kind of always heard some version of this narrative, right? Like you've heard about people stripping to pay for school and all of that. But this is different because it's a subscription-based model, sort of behind closed doors in a way. And it's interesting. And so, sisters, I want to know, what do you think about this whole idea of women turning to OnlyFans to avoid the student loan crisis? Shelly Shells, you are up first.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And if that works for them, it works for them. It don't work for me, but if it works for them, it works for them. I mean, I'm not going to judge based on that. I mean, you know, it's one of the oldest jobs, you know. So the sex industry is one of the oldest jobs in the world. It's been around for ages. So this is such a new way to make money using that industry. Hey,
right.
It works.
It's a new way, right, to do something that used to be done. And like, there's something sexy about it to me because it's like there's no actual other human in the room with you. You know, it's just you. And your camera, your pictures, your whatever, and your audience might see, but like there's some degree of safety that I don't think exists in other types of sex work and other platforms. So it's sort of interesting. What do you think, Sharice?
Girlfriend, I say, do you, boo? Get it how you live and live how you get it. Because I'm just saying, first of all, as a person who has a staggering amount of student loan debt. And I'm young, y'all. And I got, how are we so young? Yeah, all of us, we're so young and we have so much debt. Like, and I think it's a really big, we all know it's a really big issue. Like, but I think that the new generation or the generation underneath us is so much more ready for this world and this like student loan stuff. Like they got us. They tricked our generation.
They got us. They got us.
And so I'm like, listen, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. A couple of nights ago, I was like, yo, let me figure out how to start an OnlyFans. I'm like, look, I gotta pay this. I said, they gave us till the end of December until we got to start paying it back. So let me figure it out.
Right.
But actually, I couldn't find any information. So if anybody knows, let me know. Not playing.
Hit her up in the comments, let her know. Okay, so
I'm just saying, do you?
this is sort of an offshoot. I want to direct at you, Shelly, because you and I are kind of in the same place in that we're both licensed professionals. And I am a part of a social work Facebook group, and there was a long thread. I mean, this was like synchronicity to the max because I saw this thread, then I saw this article, and they were talking about, well, one person was talking about her friend who was also a licensed social worker, but who has an OnlyFans. And so there was this huge debate about having this type of side biz, right? This sort of side gig to generate some extra income and the risk that it places on your license. So I'd love to hear from your perspective. Teachers are also a licensed profession. What do you think of the idea of teachers on OnlyFans, right? This article is about nurses and nursing students. What do you think about teachers on OnlyFans?
Yeah, I don't think it would work for teachers only because, you know, I mean, we're human. We are human. But a lot of people don't see us as humans. So they see us as, they put us in this high category of professionalism, although they don't pay us like we're high professionals. They put us in this high tier of, with us being role models and girl, I don't think it would work as a teacher. We would get so much flack for it, you know, because they put us on such a high, I don't even want to say a pedestal because
They hold you to a high standard.
yes, they do. And so if we do anything, like even in a past before becoming a teacher, if that comes up, you can lose your license. So yeah, I don't think it would work as a teacher. I don't think it would work because we're considered role models. We're considered so highly, like they've given us a high, they give us a high standard. We have to live up to that
Okay,
standard. So
but I also, no shade to them, to these people that I'm about to talk about. But those same people that are holding you to the high standard, a lot of those executives, and y'all know who I'm talking about, and y'all know what they look like, who try to control women's bodies and whatnot. Anyways, but a lot of them, they got stuff from their past, their present, and probably in their future. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, how dare them like take away your money and your opportunity and your rights? So I mean, I don't know.
right.
It's
Right.
I just have to chime in on
It's
that.
a double standard. It's a double standard.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's such an interesting concept because they're talking about nurses. And I mean, I've worked with a lot of nurses in my career. And one of the things, especially in the medical field, is like you're always in this state of trying to protect your license. And so I thought it was really interesting that this article was about nursing students who were like, hey, like like it's a risk, because it is, like someone can report you. And even if nothing comes of it, you find yourself in a position of having to defend yourself and having to defend your license and having to defend your ethics and all of these things. So I do think that it kind of puts people in an awkward position, but shoot, like, I don't know that it's fair, So I guess my next question,
it's not fair.
It's not, right? Like it's just strange to me, but they say that sex work, especially on this particular platform, OnlyFans, is really becoming a lot more mainstream. Right. And so in the article, they were sort of comparing it to like food delivery gigs and ride shares and all of that. So do you see the similarity, right? Like, do you think that this is just another opportunity to have a side hustle? We all have side hustles. So I want to hear your opinion. What do you think, Sharice?
Girl, it's just your opportunity to have your side hustle. Like, honest, like seriously, like if you can, why would you sit in the office all day? Like, I was just listening, I know I was listening, I love Beyonce. I was listening to some music of hers before we got started. And she had a song, and it was literally like, working 9 to 5 just to stay alive, working 9 to 5 just to stay alive. And I'm like, okay, exactly. So if you can have, yes, you know that song?
I love that song. Go ahead.
But it's so real. Like if you have the opportunity to make some extra money on the side, and you don't have to like basically you know, I was gonna say hurt yourself, but like you don't have to like grind. You can like literally be like, oh, picture, and post it. Like, listen, get that. Like,
I love this point that you're making, like the 9 to 5 just to stay alive, right? Thank you, B, for that, right? This whole idea of grind. There was even a part in the article where one girl says, look, you know, for some people this might be temporary, but for me, I'm trying to see where this thing goes because I'm making enough money in 2 hours on my OnlyFans. And that has created for her a real significant stream of income and the possibility for even more. And I mean, what if you could just work those 2 hours and then chase your passion? She was like in an accelerated nursing program, which meant that she was basically learning like at a really fast pace. So she had to like really focus in on school, and she could just work 2 hours. Like, dude, how amazing would life be if we were just working 2 hours?
okay, that's what I'm trying to get to. Okay. Because working 9 to 5 just to stay alive is not worth it. That's not how we're supposed to live. That's not what our life is intended to be or to do. So it's like, why work harder instead of smarter?
Totally. Would love to hear your thoughts, Shelly, on this whole idea of grinding, or is it similar to these sort of rideshare kind of jobs? What do you think?
I mean, it's a hustle. So it is similar to like the ride share and the like Grubhubs and Uber Eats and all that. So it is a hustle. I am over the grind. I really am. I'm over the grind. I'm overworking the 9 to 5, the 3 to 8. I'm over it, you know. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do until you can get out of where you are. And so if that works for them, it works for them. I saw a meme and I had reposted it, said that working 9 to 5 every day, only to get 48 hours, 2 days off is not, I don't feel it in my spirit, something like that. So you working every single day and then you only get 2 days off and then you got to go back to the grind. I'm over it. I'm over it. So, hey, if, like I said, if it works for them, it works for them. You got to find your hustle. You got to find what works for you, and it works for them. But it is like, it's similar to the Grubhubs and the Uber Eats and the ride shares and all that. I think it's the same, just a different industry, just a different products that they're providing.
Right, different service. All right, Sharice, looked like you had something that you wanted to say, girl. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, I have two things. Well, one, y'all know that I call myself, I'm the self-proclaimed queen, hustle queen, right? Like the queen of the side hustle, like for real. Y'all know how many jobs I be having. I be not catwalking, dog. But I can walk your cat too if you need me to. But I mean, I mean, dogs walking, cat sitting, you know, everything. I did Postmates for a little while at the beginning of the pandemic, like all kinds of stuff, y'all. Like, so I definitely do see the similarities, but I do also think that it also has like more of a like social media vibe as well than just the ride sharing. So it's a little bit of a mix. But the most important thing, and what made me like kind of like jump out of my body to say this, was that this is the issue that we have. This is a bigger issue that we have about equity. It's about us needing to find equity so that people don't have to necessarily go to all of these different places in order to get the money that they need to live and to survive. And so I just think that it's important for us to start thinking about that as well, about like, how do we find a space where, you know, people, because a lot of it is not people that that don't look like us. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of minorities, obviously lots of women. There are men on OnlyFans too, though. Okay, it's not just a women-based platform or whatever. So I think that, you know, it's definitely something. There's something that's telling us something about our society that we maybe need to look at.
What do you think it's telling us about our society?
It's a couple things. One, right now, you know, sex work has always been really taboo. Like, always. It's like, oh my God.
Sex is taboo. So sex work is like, yeah.
Right. And then you've got, you know, and I read in the article too, they talked about like the anti-sex trafficking, you know, people who are against sex trafficking, which I'm against sex trafficking too. But I think that this is totally different because these are women who are choosing, unless there is the issue of catfishing. I don't know. Can you catfish using OnlyFans? I don't know. But
there is an episode, but it kind of worked in the opposite way. But go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, so so it's telling us a lot about society, but that sex work is becoming again more received or more accepted in society. It's also telling us that people are out here struggling and they trying to figure out how the heck to survive. And it's telling us that these loans and these interest rates and this credit, this stuff is like literally drowning people. And like, we have to reconfigure. We got to do something. You know, when I went to LA a couple years ago, and I was considering moving there for a little bit, but I was so like disheartened by the fact that there was like these huge, enormous, empty mansions in the hills. And then you go down into like onto the the Hollywood streets, which you would think are filled with stars and celebrities. There was so much homelessness. And I'm like, yo, there's such a crazy, like, dynamic, you know? And ultimately I decided not to move there because it was too much for me. I'm like, this is too sad. I can't, like, why don't some of these rich people let these people live in their house? I don't know. I think we need to figure out something where everybody can just be and be good, not have to be worried about how to live and pay their rent.
Yeah. You bring up a lot of points there. So we're not going to hit on all of those things. I appreciate you bringing them all up. I do think that you made a really important distinction that they made in the article, which was that these women that we're talking about in this particular capacity are women who are making a conscious choice and who don't feel bad about the choice that they're making. Right. And so that is a distinction from sex trafficking, which is not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about that at all. So I really appreciate you bringing that particular point up. The other thing that I love that you brought up, which will bring us to our next little tidbit here, is this idea that it's like a mishmash of sort of like sex work and social media, right? And I thought this was really interesting. There was a particular woman in the story who kind of goes, look, I already post sort of risque photos on Instagram and on Twitter, and I already put myself out there. And then I learned that I could make some money off of what I'm already doing. And I thought this was really interesting because I see this all the time. Not necessarily, I see that all the time too, but I think a lot of the time people are doing things that they can monetize. They just hadn't thought about it in that way. So I thought that was really interesting. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that people who post these sort of risque photos on regular platforms like Facebook and Instagram and all these places, are they missing out on an opportunity to make more money by transitioning to something like an OnlyFans where they could actually monetize? What are your thoughts on that? Shelly?
Can you say that one more time? It was a lot. Say it one more time.
Sorry. Basically, what do you think that people who are kind of posting up those sexy photos anyways, are they missing out on an opportunity to make more money by transitioning to something like OnlyFans?
I guess it depends on their beliefs, how they feel, because posting a sexy picture is different than an OnlyFans page. Because with the OnlyFans page, aren't you going a little bit further than just posting a sexy picture? Right? Is that really what it is?
You don't have
Well,
to.
it's what you want to
OnlyFans-
do.
Okay.
It's what you want to do. So it could be just charging people to see the risque photo, or it could be charging people to see the risque photo without the bra on, or it could be, like it's up to the person.
people have OnlyFans literally like showing their wrist. Okay, their wrist. Like, okay, people have, you see that mole right here? People have OnlyFans like, here's my mole. Here's my other mole.
Okay, so
here's my other mole.
good
You know what I mean?
point. Right? Like there's this whole we're gonna go there. There's a whole movement on Instagram. I don't know if you guys have seen it, of people who basically show off pictures of their feet, right? And people hit them up in their DMs and offer them money for more pictures of their feet. And so, like, literally, if I'm gonna post my photos of my feet on Instagram, does it not make more sense for me to post it on OnlyFans and create a tiered sort of opportunity to make more money? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, if I'm already putting content out there, should I, or am I even missing an opportunity to really monetize it? Because people will pay for anything, you know?
I guess it depends on how far you want to go, if you want to make the money, or if you're just doing it for fun. Like, some people don't need the extra money. Some people just like the likes. Some people just like the comments. They don't really care about the money. So I guess it just depends on, what your need is at the time.
I think that's so interesting, right? What you just said, like, some people just are chasing the likes and the comments. And I think that kind of is another statement about the world that we live in today. And like, I'm not saying that you have to get out there and make money off of all the things, but I do think that it's interesting that we're chasing likes and comments when we could be making more money. I mean, the reality is, if you actually look at the facts, one, we've got this whole pandemic that has absolutely decimated people's financial situation. We've already talked about this sort of school loan crisis that's been happening. And before all of this hit, the average American is something like 80% of Americans, and don't quote me on this, I'm not going to say it just right, but 80% of Americans didn't have $1,000 to their name before this thing started in like a savings account. So this idea that people don't need extra money, I think, is a fallacy, right? I don't think everybody wants to admit that they're as financially illiterate or financially they're in the financial situation that they're in. But I mean, the vast majority of people, especially now that we have these additional crises, the whole point of this article was these women who were nursing students who were kind of pushed out of their jobs or had these issues because of what happened with COVID-19. So we actually have seen sort of like a deterioration of a lot of people's finances. Now, some people are flourishing right now. Some of people have really done a good job.
Flourish, baby.
Right. And that's amazing. But there's so many people who haven't. So I just think it's interesting, and it's not a judgment, because if all you want is likes and comments, then hell, get your likes and comments, like, do what you got to do. But I just wonder if people are thinking about how they could actually monetize more of the things that they already do on a regular basis. I don't know, Sharice, what do you think?
I think Shelly brings up a really good point about the likes and comments, though, because I think that people are we have this obsession with like fame and notoriety and like people knowing who we are in this current world that we live in. And so I do think that a lot of people are already posting on Instagram and social and Facebook and all these other places their risque pictures. But I do think also at the same time that girl, guy, whoever you are, don't miss your opportunity to get that money, because I'm just saying, like, seriously, because that can help not only you, if you don't need it, if you're like, I don't need this right now, but it can help the future generations. It can help your children. If you have children, it can help. If you don't have kids, you can donate it to somebody, give it to a family in need, whatever you need to do. But don't miss that opportunity, because I guarantee you those social media sites are making money off of you, baby. So you might as well go ahead and make your money off of them. Don't let yourself get lost up in the system. But also I know that a lot of the people, because the OnlyFans platform for a long time was like just for professional sex workers. Mm-hmm. And now you see lots more amateur sex workers coming on, partly because of, again, Queen Bee putting in hits TikTok when I dance on my demon time. I might start my OnlyFans. And all of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, OnlyFans, what's that? Let me go do that. Beyonce doing it, so it must be good. You know, whatever. Like, so now you've got all of these people that are on there and finally figuring out, like, oh snap, I spent so much time on Instagram when I could have been over here making some money. And I have some people that I went to college with, and I would see their pictures, her very racy pictures on Instagram. And honestly, I was really sad, like, when I saw it at first, because not because she was showing herself or her, you know, whatever, like, okay, do you, like I said, but because she had pictures of her child literally next to pictures of her, you know, in whatever risque pose or whatever. And so now that she has this OnlyFans, it's like she can kind of move those people that are watching her there over there and still help her child, and maybe not have to mix the two. You know what I mean? That might be just bad branding or bad brand management. But either way, it's kind of like, I was like, ugh, but now I see what she was doing. She's been doing this for years. And now I'm like, oh, okay, you were setting yourself up to make people go over there. And it's a smart move. My opinion.
That's fascinating. And I do want to make a distinction, right? The vast majority of people on OnlyFans do some form of sex work, but OnlyFans is also very similar to a Patreon, right? So basically, someone is paying, you know, a fee to get access to your content. The content does not have to necessarily be pornographic in nature or sex in nature. Like, Beyonce's not on there showing titties, right? Like, she's fucking Beyonce, right? So I just want to make that distinction, because I think people think that they hear OnlyFans and then it has a certain connotation. But I know of people who are on there and they're just delivering content that has nothing to do with sex, but they found a platform that had fewer rules and restrictions, although that's changed recently with some of the drama that's happened, but that allowed them to make a lot more money than some other platforms that gave them a lot more leeway. So I think that's important too. What were you going to say, Sharice?
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, what you was talking about, that's going to be me. And so after we get off of here, I'm going to start my OnlyFans. I'm going to drop the link in the bio so y'all can go to it and y'all can get content. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is very true. And I meant to mention that. And actually, I told you I was doing some research on OnlyFans even before. It's so literally synchronicity for real, because I was literally doing some research, and I was like in the comments, like a YouTube, and there were, you know, people who have been in the sex work industry for a while that were on the comments, literally like so upset about the fact that like regular people and lots of famous people, celebrities and stuff are taking over this platform in a way. And they literally said, like, you know, that's what Patreon is for. Go to Patreon if you don't want to show what we're showing. I think it's a little bit unfair. Like, let me get that too. There's more than enough. There's abundance in this world. Okay. But yeah, there definitely has been some like I guess tension around that between like professionals, and it's almost like in the entertainment world when you've got this person who's gone to school, has training as a performer, this and that, and they go and they work, grind, audition, all this stuff, and they're like basically in 2 commercials. And then you got somebody who just came off the street, and because they look right, they're like, all right, you got the role. You like, really? So, you know, I feel them and I understand their pain, but we about to make this money.
Yeah, and I think that's a whole nother sister chat. We could totally dig deep, because there's been so much drama with the whole Bella Thorne thing and all these things that have happened recently that have affected sex workers. And I do think that it's important that they too have a safe space to do what they need to do, because I do think that there is some degree of safety and anonymity that you can have that doesn't involve going out and being in a hotel room with someone or being in, you know what I'm saying? So I do think that it's important that sex workers are protected too, but that is a whole nother conversation, ladies. We're going to wrap this up. I've got one final question for you, and I'm just going to introduce this with a little story. So once upon a time, I used to work for a Fortune 500 company. And at the time, things were really going downhill. Things were going really bad. People were just upset and miserable and not happy with the environment at all. And one of the things that me and some of my friends used to joke about was that, you know, it might be better if we went and hopped on a pole than come into this BS job. And that was something that we used to say all the time. I don't think any of us actually ended up on a pole, but this was before OnlyFans, right? So my question for you is, let's say one of your friends, someone you are close to, comes to you and says, Shelly or Cherise, yo, I am doing sex work on OnlyFans. I couldn't do that grind anymore. I got student loans. This COVID took my job, whatever the circumstances. And I don't want to tell the whole world, but I want to tell you. I want to know what you're going to say to them and what's going on in your head when your bestie boo come and tell you this, okay? So it looks like Shelly is pondering, so I'm going to let Cherise start. Then we're going to hit you up next, Shelly.
Well, y'all basically already know what I'm going to say because I already said it at the beginning of the show. Do you boo? Okay, get that money. Listen, I can't live anybody else's life for them. They only get to live their life. Obviously, you know, I would probably tell them, make sure that they're doing it safely. Turn off your location off of your phone so that you are, you know, not, you know, don't take pictures outside the front of your house. Don't, you know, take precautions. And I have to say that OnlyFans, I believe, is a very safe platform in the sense that you don't have, like you say, you don't have to go to a hotel room. You don't have to meet these people in person or anything like that. And a lot of people do try to protect their anonymity anyways, because they're like covering their face and whatever else. I have to say that when I was in Amsterdam and I went to the red light district and I visited, they are very safe there. They have lots of precautions. They've got panic buttons and security guards and all those kinds of things. But when you're out here just in the world trying to do all these other things, you know, you got to be safe. You got to do it very carefully. I would probably say don't show your face because you don't want to be in Walmart and the next thing you know, somebody snatch you up because they saw you on your OnlyFans. So just be safe, but do you and get that money. That's what I would tell her. And that's what I'm thinking. Because y'all know
that's what you be thinking too. Okay. All right. What about you, Shelly? Oh. What about you, Shelly?
So I would probably have a conversation with them to find out why they were doing it, just to make sure that they were sure about their decision. I wouldn't try to change their mind, but I would want to know why, and like what led them to that, and if there were any other options. And if there were no other options, do what you got to do. I mean, I'm not going to judge you. That's something you feel secure in doing. You feel like you can do it, do it. In my head, I'd be like, I'd be a little jealous, actually, because I know me personally, I wouldn't want to do it. So just being able to see my friend do it, I'm trying to think of which friends I think would want to do it. But I would kind of live through them, you know, ask them questions
You'll be like,
about
what
it.
happened? What they said?
How did you do that? Yeah. I would want to know, you know, how they feel. Like me personally, I know I personally could not do it, but like for them to have that confidence to do it, I think that's kind of cool. So, you know, I mean, they got to do what they got to do for them and their family. So,
I love that.
Who am I to judge them? So.
I love that response. She's like, look, girl, I'm gonna be a little bit jealous and I'm gonna kind of live vicariously through them. Like, I love that. I think that this was a great talk, sisters. What do you think?
It was so fun. And before we go, I just want to say, like CC, Shelly, and Shanika, who's not here right now, and myself, we all have gigs. Y'all, we all got side hustles. So we gonna put them in the comments so y'all can know what they are and y'all can go and support if you want. I'm just
absolutely, absolutely. And I think that that's an important distinction. Oh, I didn't say what I would say. Should I bother or?
Oh yeah, tell us.
Okay, so I think for me, because I feel like I've had this conversation with my friends, even though not necessarily OnlyFans, but like I said, like we was all talking about getting on a pole from one time or another, and I was like, all right, let's, we gotta do what we gotta do. I think for me, I would ask them if they were open to marketing advice, because I have done a lot of marketing, and that is a part of OnlyFans, right? Like there's not like a search thing where you can just find someone. You do have to promote it in some way or another. And so I would want to talk to them all about marketing strategy and how we can do this, because I got to tell you, when I was reading that article about that girl who's like, look, 2 hours a day and my bills are paid. I'm all for you doing whatever it is that makes you happy. My husband and I were on a walk last night for the blue moon, and we were kind of just having a talk, and we talked about this a little bit. And I said, look, if we were younger, we would both have an OnlyFans right now, because why not, homie? We literally were laughing and joking about it last night, because I just think that we have to spend less time judging people and spend more time doing what's best for us. And if somebody is happy to do it, then I'm happy for them. But I always want people to win, right? Like, I don't want my friends sort of half-cocked doing something like, excuse the pun, right? I don't want you to go out there and you're not actually doing it. It's something that's going to actually produce the results for you that you need, right? Like, why put yourself out there if you're not going to put yourself out there? Why go and do it if you're not going to actually earn an income? That's kind of like that social media thing. Like, why put the titty post out if you're not going to, get behind the wall and let somebody pay for, a different angle of it or whatever, So I would want to be talking all about marketing strategy. And I'm going to be like Shelly. I'm like, girl, keep me posted. I want to know the details. Let me know how it goes. I get so excited. I message you guys all the time when I sell one of my books on Amazon. I'm like, oh my God, sales, and I would do the exact same thing with my friends. Girl, you got another subscriber. Let's go. So I would be definitely all in. And so as Sharice mentioned, all of the sisters have side hustles. We've got things that we're doing. We're producing incredible content. We're producing incredible products. And we will go ahead and drop those once this is over so that you can support should you choose to. And we would appreciate that greatly. So check us out. We love you. We appreciate you. And we want to know what you think about this OnlyFans. If you have a friend come to you wanting to hop on the OnlyFans bandwagon, what would you say? What would you think? Drop it in the comments. Let us know. And do not forget to like this video, share it with somebody who you think would appreciate this content. And don't forget to join the sisterhood by hitting that subscribe button, okay? So this is it for this installment of What's That?
Sister Chat.
All right, sisters, we'll talk to you next time. Ciao.